There were a few good series this past weekend, so let's get our recap started with the biggest series from the past week, Wofford at Mercer, am I right?
Absolutely. Battle of some mid majors. We stated before the weekend that both of these teams were on the fringe of our top 25, and you saw the direct impact of that as Wofford came out on top, dominated the first two games, and rightfully so, popped up in our top 25 this week. Wofford's looking really solid right now. Their top three batters absolutely popped off in the Friday game when it combined 9 for 13 with 7 RBIs in that 17-7 win for them. And now Wofford's up to 10 in the RPI and maybe even looking like a potential host spot at this point.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it was a huge series for both teams to kind of determine the potential winner of the Southern Conference. And with Wofford winning it, like you said, they sit at number 10 in the RPI, and they could potentially host if the cards fall right.
Yeah, not sure exactly what the facilities are looking like over at Wofford, but the RPI and the record at this point, they're certainly looking like a potential spot that could end up hosting.
Yeah, that would be very interesting, and they would be loving things down there. But now we can maybe transition to probably what was considered the actual best weekend series, or going in at least, with number 15 TCU going to number 4 Oklahoma State. And so TCU goes to Oklahoma State and takes the series. So they are, would you say, red hot?
Yes, absolutely. And it didn't look like it was going to be that way on the Friday game. Justin Campbell for Oklahoma State threw an absolute gem, threw for 8 innings, only gave up 2 runs, had 14 Ks in that performance, and he was only 3 batters away from facing the minimum through 8. Incredible performance from him, and Oklahoma State smoked him 13-2. But the next 2 days, TCU bounced back, won some tight games, and ultimately came out on top with a tough road series win.
For sure. It was definitely good for them to come back after that pretty demoralizing Friday game. It's hard to be able to get in a row after that, but they were able to do it, and the Horned Frogs are hopping to the top with back-to-back wins, like series wins over the top 10 teams at the time, after we had dropped them from the rankings, but they're really proving themselves to be potentially one of the best teams in the nation.
Yeah, since TCU fell out of the rankings, these last 3 weekends they've played 9 games against top 10 teams, and they've gone 6-3. I think anybody going into that would have expected probably maybe 4-5 going into that with how well those teams were playing. So for them to come out winning and especially 6-3, pretty incredible. And they're going to be a dangerous team coming into the end of the year with how hot they are.
Definitely, TCU is on the upward trajectory, and Oklahoma State they had a rough weekend besides Friday, but they're still a top team. They stumbled a bit, but they can definitely make up for it next weekend playing Texas. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, and like you said, Oklahoma State was still competitive in those last 2 games that they lost, and for most of the year they've been extremely consistent. So not too concerning in our opinion, and like you said, got a good chance to prove themselves and right the ship this upcoming weekend.
Yes, we can, I guess, stay in Texas with number 3 Arkansas going to Texas A&M. This was probably the biggest upset of the weekend, I'd say, potentially, with a heat check series for Texas A&M since they beat Georgia last week, and they succeeded the challenge. Overall, the run differential was 0, so it was a very hard-fought series for both teams. But I'd say the star of the show was Jacob Palish, who got 2 saves in the Friday and Sunday games in very difficult situations for both of them.
Yeah, the Stanford transfer has been exceeding expectations over at Texas A&M, and yeah, Texas A&M was another one of those teams on the fringe of our top 25, now in it after beating Arkansas. And things are a little confusing for Arkansas now, losing a couple weekend series. They get Peyton Stovall hot a little, goes 5 for 10 on the weekend, but he's been cold the whole year, and their offense just seems like whenever someone gets hot, the other person gets cold. And we just haven't seen that consistency on the offensive end yet. So we know there's a high ceiling for this team, but things have yet to click on all cylinders. And if they do, they're going to be scary, but need to see a little more consistency, I'd say.
Yeah, definitely. Arkansas is in a spot where they are the second best team in the SEC, but there are teams that are starting to creep up on them, and they got to kind of settle down and settle into things to be able to keep that spot.
Certainly, and Texas A&M is one of those teams trying to surpass them. Texas A&M now has series wins over Arkansas, like we said, and then Georgia and LSU as well. Three quality series wins, and yeah, Texas A&M is closing in fast.
Yeah, and now we can go to another SEC series with a Tennessee team that really needs to get things going in order to make the postseason. Am I right, Kevin?
Yeah, definitely struggling now, but there were questions last week with the going 2-2 the previous week and the Vitello suspension, which during the week he was giving out $2 chest bumps on campus for the Wounded Warrior Project. Mixed feelings across the country on if he was making light of a bad situation or whatnot. Not sure what our opinion is there, but regardless, Tennessee rebounds on the weekend. Florida gave them a good run for their money on the Saturday Sunday games, and Tennessee was down 1-4 in the top of the ninth on Sunday and score 3 runs with 2 outs to tie it up and send it to extras. Just crazy for Florida to choke that Sunday game. Tennessee looking dominant. Chase Burns on the Friday game continues to dominate. He only gave up 1 earned run in 6 1/3 innings. Probably the most dominant freshman pitcher in the country and might be the most dominant pitcher in the country, period. Incredible season for him so far, and Tennessee continues to roll.
Yeah, like you said, they bounced back from their first iffy week, if you can say that, of the year, and sweep Florida, who is now struggling and needs wins pretty badly. Their RPI is in a good spot, but they're now 6-12 in conference, and that just won't cut it to make the postseason. Luckily, they don't have any ranked teams to play left on their schedule, so it should be doable for them to make the tournament, but they really have to get things right.
Yeah, that 6-12 mark in conference is hard to overcome, but with 4 unranked teams coming up, definitely got a chance to right the ship. And like you said, their RPI is already high right now, and so they shouldn't have any issues on that end. If they can just win some games, they'll be fine, but certainly looking iffy.
Yeah, for sure. I guess we can go to the ACC now with Wake Forest at number 8, Notre Dame. Notre Dame needed a bounce back, and they got it. Very, very loud, sweeping Wake Forest after being swept by Duke. They've put together a pretty good season so far. There have definitely been ups and downs with sweeps back and forth, but Notre Dame pretty much outpaced Wake Forest the entire weekend except Sunday. So they showed what they're able to do when they're playing well.
Yeah, that Notre Dame offense only scored 10 runs last week against Duke. This weekend, they explode for 42 runs against Wake Forest. Not necessarily a great pitching staff on that Wake Forest side, but nonetheless, an impressive performance from Notre Dame. Never really know what we're going to get with this team. They get swept by Duke, and then they go 5-0 this week and sweep Wake Forest. Not sure. The ceiling is high for this team, but it also seems like the floor is low at this point with how many sweeps they've been involved in.
Yeah, definitely riding the roller coaster right now. It did seem like it had evened out before they got swept, but now they're back on the ride. So we'll see if that continues going forward, but they seem to be one of the better teams in the ACC, at least consistency-wise, which is weird to say considering all the sweeps that have happened, but the ACC is just a dogfight right now.
Yeah, certainly inconsistencies, but not a team I'd want to see in the postseason.
Definitely. And the last kind of series that I wanted to at least touch on was number 10 Stanford versus, at the time, number 24 GCU. They split the series 1-1, which I would say is a great result for GCU if they had not also split against a very bad San Diego State this past weekend. So a little bit up and down for them. You'd like to see them go like 3-1 instead of 2-2, and if they had, they probably would have stayed in our rankings. But unfortunately, San Diego State was able to get a game from them, and that is just unfortunate for them.
Yeah, Stanford continues to play well right now. They go 3-1 in that little round robin weekend. And Alex Williams dominated on Friday. He continues to pitch really well right now. Went 8 innings and only gave up 1 run. And it's starting to look like he may be able to give Cooper Hjerpe a run for his money for Pac-12 Pitcher of the Year. Alex Williams sits at a 2.06 ERA in conference, while Hjerpe's at a 2.17 ERA. They're very close, but Hjerpe's definitely got him on the strikeouts and wins, and Oregon State has played a little better at this point, but he's given him a little run for his money after it looked like Hjerpe was running away with it.
Yeah, for sure. Hjerpe looked like he had that thing all but locked up, but Alex Williams has become very hot recently and is showing what he can do, and kind of that essence that you saw in Texas Tech last year when he pulled out a complete game, shutout game, just absolutely brilliant work in like 110-degree heat, and that's just nuts from him. So we're kind of seeing that again. He's been able to calm down from the beginning of the year struggles, and he's putting together a lot of amazing performances now.
Yeah, and it seems like Stanford's starting to put it together on the offensive end of things as well. Brock Jones has been playing better as of late, and then Braden Montgomery has just been hitting absolute nukes for that team. Had 2 home runs on Friday against GCU. Doesn't seem like anyone can stop this guy at this point. He's just absolutely mashing the ball.
Yeah, and he is hitting those home runs far. They're not just barely getting out. They're going like 450 plus. Those things are absolute tanks, and that's what you hope for when you get a top recruit like that, and sometimes it doesn't pan out, and it looked like he was struggling at the beginning of the year, but he has found his mojo for sure.
Yeah, if you have any sort of facility or building in right field, you're going to want to call the repairman ahead of time. Have them prepped for Monday to be fixing some dents on top of that thing.
Oh, for sure. If not making holes, those things are absolutely blasted. Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed, we would really appreciate a like and subscribe for more weekly college baseball content.